Hey guys, Mike here, the Detroit Borg with a look at the Microsoft Xbox One. So 1 week following the PS4, Xbox One is finally available. This is the day one edition. As you can see, it comes in this black box, which actually picks up on the design motif of the Xbox itself with this glossy finish, with that matte finish. Looks like Amazon kind of beat it up for me, including this little puncture mark here. But hopefully yours looks a little bit better than mine does. So we have the day one edition, day one 2013, comes with a customized controller, which gives you this branding as well as a chrome D-pad. Of course, we'll take a closer look at that. And along the side, you'll see all of the accessories they've included here. So they've added quite a bit. This is $100 more than the PS4 at $499. That gives you the Xbox One console, the Kinect sensor, one controller, day one edition controller with a mono chat headset, HDMI cable, which does support 4K, built-in wireless networking, as well as a 500 gig hard disk drive and 1 year warranty. All right, so this does have specs very similar to the PS4. This has a 8-core AMD Jaguar CPU, 8 gigs of RAM, and a 500 gig hard disk drive. Now, the hard disk drive is not really meant to be user upgradable or changed because it does void the warranty. That's different than the PS4, which is pretty easily accessed. This is different. All right, so let's go ahead and start the unboxing. As you can see, this is a pretty heavy box with an Xbox One branded handle. I'm just going to cut these tabs and we can crack this open. All right, so let's just lift the lid. There we go, Xbox One up top, and as you can see, the first thing we see here is the Xbox Kinect. So the Xbox Kinect sensor, you can see our huge cable back here. Let me just lift this up here. We got this big chunky cable with the proprietary connector here. It's kind of covered up, as you can see. And that fits onto the back of the Xbox One, which we'll of course take a look at. You can see it's wrapped in plastic Xbox One. Let's go ahead and peel it off. Now taking a look at the Kinect sensor, again, this uses IR to grid a room as well as the location and movement of the people in the room. This is now much higher resolution. It can actually detect your facial expressions, whether you're looking at it or not. So it's a much higher resolution sensor. It's actually really impressive. We also have our Xbox branding right there. We also have a new and improved microphone array with several microphones so it can pick up depth of sound. So this allows the sensor to detect multiple people in the room and isolate your voice from other audio sources in the room, like air conditioning noises or other noises. So a much more sensitive controller, which is now always active, so it can always listen for you. So you can control your Xbox just by talking to it. Along the side, you'll find ventilation, as you can see right into the device. Up top, you'll find Xbox branding along with more ventilation. Back here, you'll find your cable permanently connected to it, more ventilation. We also have a pivoting stand here, so you can pivot your camera while keeping the microphone array in the same position. Again, you can see the angle of articulation, which is pretty extreme. On the bottom, you have your foot, a rubber foot for gripability on the surface. You also have a mounting point as well. Now, because you can also input TV into your Xbox One, this also acts as a universal remote. It basically becomes a big IR blaster for controlling that equipment. All right, so let's get these trays out of the way. Lift this one up. So inside we'll find some of our accessories, including the mono chat headset. So let's crack this open and take a look at it. All right, so inside the styrofoam we'll find a little controller here. So volume up, volume down, as well as the voice control. As you can see, this plugs into the base of your Xbox controller with that proprietary port. Now the headset itself, again, Xbox branded with a little green. You see our foam earpiece, and our mouthpiece extends out, doesn't bend or twist in any way. You can see the headband, pretty basic. So a pretty nice headset they've included. Now in terms of our paperwork, we get an Xbox One quick setup guide in multiple languages, and of course green. We have a Xbox One sticker. We have an Xbox One warranty and safety information guide. Now we also get these two QR codes. One is unique to the Day 1 edition. This unlocks a special achievement. You also get 14 days free of Xbox Live Gold. And in order to activate it, you basically use the camera on the Xbox One to scan these QR codes. All right, so let's continue digging until we get to the Xbox One. So first up is the new Xbox One controller, which is all new and redesigned. All right, so we get the all-new Xbox One controller with Day 1 2013 branding and this chrome D-pad, which is otherwise black. They also give us a set of Duracell batteries. Now we're going to take a closer look at this when we compare it to the Xbox 360 controller, so let's move on. Now they also give us an HDMI cable. Again, this is capable of 4K video. So as you can see, they gave us an HDMI high-speed connector. And let's remove the rest of the plastic here. There you go. Very nice looking cable and pretty chunky. Now, of course, we also have our power cable and the external power brick, so it does not have an internal power supply like the PS4. All right, so I'm going to pull this off. You can see it's also wrapped in plastic. Now, you can see it's got the same design of the Xbox One itself. Let's go ahead and peel this off. So we have that glossy finish along with the matte finish, Xbox branding. So even though we have this large external power brick, at least it's a nice looking one. So on the back here you can see, same grill pattern. We have our power source for the cable. All right, so let's just lift the rest of this cardboard. And there is the Xbox One. Wrapped in this very nice black wrapper, as opposed to what you get with the standard edition. All right, so you can see you got styrofoam padding along the side. Make some noise here while we throw everything on the ground. All right, so very nice packaging. You can see we have our tape here to pull off. Just separate along the back side of this. And there is the Xbox One. You can see it's got that glossy finish. All right, so that is the cleanest it will ever be before I start putting my fingerprints all over it. So you can see on the bottom, it's actually pretty heavy. You have our feet along the bottom. This is not meant to be propped up along the side. This is meant to be laid horizontally in your cabinet. Now taking a look at the design of the Xbox One, it's actually not too dissimilar to the PS4, although the PS4 is thinner and lighter than the Xbox One. It also has that angular design. This also has a very angular sort of industrial design, but it has this contrasting material just like the PS4 with that glossy black finish and the matte black finish. I think it looks really sharp. It's definitely maybe not as appealing as the PS4, but both consoles kind of disappear into your entertainment cabinet anyway. Now this really isn't meant to be standard on the side, so you can't buy a side prop for this because the ventilation is on both sides. We also have ports on the side here, which we'll get to in just a minute here. But along the front, we actually have capacitive touch buttons here. So we have a capacitive on and off button right here, that Xbox logo. We also have a capacitive eject button for your Blu-ray drive. Along the side, you can see we have a USB 3.0 port, so we have one along the side and we have two on the back. We also have this physical pairing button for your Xbox controller. Now as you can see, we have this little notch cut out of the front to reduce the profile, the front profile of your console. Lots of ventilation along the side here. Along the back, you'll find all of your I/O, including more ventilation. We do have a Kensington lock, so this prevents your Xbox One from walking away if you want to use that accessory. You have your power source. We also have two HDMI sources. We have an HDMI to TVs for outputting to your TV and an input. So the input allows you to connect your satellite or cable TV and you can control it with your Xbox. We also have an optical audio output, two USB 3.0 ports, that's a proprietary port for your Xbox Kinect. We have an IR out as well as a LAN port. And on the other side we have yet more ventilation, a smaller ventilation grill, and up top you'll see more ventilation, lots and lots of ventilation. In fact, if you look at the right angle, you'll actually be able to see the fan. So there you go, see the circular cutout for the fan. Now along the bottom you'll find your 4 feet as well as your sticker for serial number information. Now you don't find any ventilation down here, so you don't have to worry about constricting ventilation underneath your device. Now, although the Xbox One controller is completely redesigned, it's actually very similar in form factor to the Xbox 360 controller. It's about the same size, but they've done some interesting things here. So, for example, we now have a new D-pad, which is now more of a clickable D-pad as opposed to the more joystick-like D-pad we had before. It also used to stick out here as opposed to being flush or actually just kind of sunken in now. The joysticks are in the same location. Now, the joysticks on the Xbox One controller have this sort of grippable texture around it. Both of them are concaved, so same design overall. If you look at the Xbox 360 controller again, you can see more of a uniform material as opposed to what they've done here, that sort of tire design that's surrounding the joystick, which adds to more gripability. You can actually feel just how much more control you have with that joystick. The Xbox controls or buttons up here are also redesigned. You can see that the letters are more visible as opposed to the solid colors we had before. The Xbox home button up here is now redesigned. It's flatter as opposed to sticking out as it used to. We now have new buttons here as well. So this is the view and menu button, which is contextual depending on where you are in your system. And we also had these back and start buttons, which are now gone. Now the plastic finish just feels much higher quality than it did before. You had this sort of more of a rougher texture to it. As you can see on the back as well, it just feels a lot nicer. It feels a little more comfortable in the hand. Also on the back, if you look here, you can see that they've even hidden the screw holes, so it's a more seamless design. Now, I do have the wired controller, but if you have the wireless 360 controller, of course, you have that huge battery pack. Now, they've eliminated that here. They've given us this battery compartment, which is nicely integrated. And you can buy an accessory that allows you to charge it internally. You would just charge it via the micro USB port on the back. Now, taking a look at the back, they've given us these much larger trigger buttons, which also have impulse triggers in them. So these give you some haptic feedback while playing games. Now, games like Forza 5 actually take advantage of these right now. You can see how much bigger they are compared to the old controls. Now, the shoulder buttons have also been redesigned. They got a very nice design here, sort of integrated into the back. Now, the shoulder buttons are more clickable toward the outer edge than they were before. These were more clickable throughout. So a slight redesign here, but it actually feels quite comfortable when you're using the Xbox One controller. So your impulse is to sort of click on these edges as opposed to right here. So it works either way. You can see the triggers are, again, really comfortable. They stick out perfectly, and you have lots of range of motion here to operate them. Now, toward the center, we have an IR window along with this pairing button, which helps you to connect to the Xbox Kinect sensor. Now, like before, we have these proprietary connectors for connecting accessories. Now, right now with the Xbox One, they give you that headset. As you can see, it fits perfectly with the controller. Plugs in, gives you buttons for voice as well as your volume controls. Now, incidentally, the back of the controller has this little notch which lines up with the notch on this accessory. So when you plug it in, it gives you a more of a secure fit. All right, so that is my unboxing of the Xbox One. I hope you enjoyed this video. I do have to spend some time with the interface to get to know it before I can talk about it. So please stay tuned, and I'll see you again in the next video.